What's going on, everybody? How are you today? Coffee with Brodes. What's going on? It was a late one last night, honestly. I had the late Flyers game. I could barely keep my eyes open this morning. But here we are. That was a big win in Edmonton. You also have Nick Sirianni, who loves plants, and then Joel Embiid and his knee injury, which is clearly an issue right now, and it seems to be a problem. I'm nervous for it. It's probably a lot worse than we thought it was, which originally I thought we were going down the road of. It's not as bad as we thought it was, except this time, okay, it's flip-flopped on us where, hey, he says I probably shouldn't have played. Okay, well, what does that really mean? You should have played, Joel. Don't worry about it. Now we're hearing Ramona Shelburne talking about how, there's something happening right now, and he doesn't have that same fire. He doesn't have that same push in his knee physically, all because of it. And you can see that on the floor. We're not blind. We've been talking about him looking slower. We've been talking about his mid-range game not being as efficient. And there's a correlation why. His knee is extremely banged up. So there's a lot to talk about today. The Houston Astros, of course, end up tying up the World Series 1-1. They had a nice beatdown yesterday against Max Fried, who got rocked early on there. And the Astros explode. So big win for them to tie the series up 1-1. And, it's basically where we begin today's show. So what's up, everybody? How are you? I'm very proud of the Fly Guys last night. Very, 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 very proud of the Fly Guys last night. Looking forward to seeing them continue to battle. There's a back-to-back. So you have Vancouver on tonight. So that's a long day for me. I have like a 7-hour tattoo session at noon. And then right from there, I have Sixers. Sixers, Pistons. And then Flyers, Vancouver. So we're going to end up having a long day at the office. I'm okay with it, though. Oh, that's beautiful. It's just a lot on the body physically. So maybe the Flyers recap will be tomorrow morning kind of thing, because it's a late night, and I don't know if I'll be able to make it till 2:30 a.m. again, 3 o'clock a.m. for the Flyers pod after that damage to the mental side of it and the physical side, but we'll see. What's up, RMG, bro? I was thinking about you last night. I thought, there's a few people in this chat tomorrow that are going to be fired up. I thought Carter Hart was sensational. I thought Cam Atkinson. Look, the second goal realistically was weak, but at the end of the day, that's what goal scorers do. They go into the zone and they let it fly. They enter the zone after Justin Braun. It's a great quick transition play up the wall. You go a little give and go between Atkinson and Derek Brassard, and he ends up ripping one. I mean, that's beauty. It's just beauty. It's what goal scorers do. They have a goal-scoring mentality. They have a let me rip a shot on net mentality, and sometimes you get luck involved, some puck luck involved, and that's what happened yesterday. That is very true, Jose. Beating a 5-0-0 team is a confidence booster. I thought it was very good for Carter Hart to have that type of effort. Now, look, that was a hard-fought battle, right? It's not as if that came easy. You have another game tonight. So, that energy that was built into last night and everything that it took to win that game, it's going to be extremely difficult. And you just played Vancouver. And I know that it was a little bit of time ago, but at the same time, it wasn't, right? We're only a handful of games in. You don't forget the fact that you came back, you snagged the point, but you lost. You lost that hockey game, whether it was a shootout or not. You had those really solid goals late, but ultimately you lost the hockey game. You want to punch them in the mouth again. Or just punch them in the mouth after that, where we're still here. We didn't forget. Justin Braun, are you kidding me? +4, a couple apples. Strong performance, especially after that first period turnover in the top of the slot or the top of the blue line there in the gray area when you have your fourth line out there within your own defensive zone. So you start out the game with that style of turnover. What are we doing here with top line minutes? And from there, it was solid. We're talking Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. We're talking legitimate, serious threats in the league. And Justin Braun and Ivan Provorov held his. I thought Justin Braun was the best defenseman all night. And we know that I've been hard on him before. He's a bottom 5-6 type of player. That's what his role is. But he's veteran guy, been around the block. could be a stopgap if needed. And guess what? He was more than that. He was more than just a stopgap last night. This is from William. Carter Hart was fantastic last night. Great win. The Flyers just laid a blueprint on how to beat the Oilers. Good defense, good goaltending, and scoring. Yeah, I mean, that's a way to kind of beat anybody, right? If you have good D, good goaltending, and scoring, you could win. I mean, I thought that they gave Connor McDavid way too many opportunities on the power play. McDavid did have a lot of shots on that. I did think, though, they noticed it on the broadcast as well, where there would be 2 guys on him. There'd be 3 guys on him. You know, Travis Konechny, that was a brutal interference call late, but what was he? He was a pest. He was annoying. He was kind of physical with him as they were both skating up ice. So there were moments where they were actively being aggressive to make sure he's uncomfortable, which a lot of teams have to do that. Even with that said, Connor McDavid had a great amount of scoring chances and was left open at times when he shouldn't have been. So I don't want to make it seem like it was all perfect. The Edmonton Oilers were due for a loss. They start the season off with 5 straight victories. At some point, you're going to fall. It's not as if the Edmonton Oilers look themselves in the mirror and say, we got extremely outplayed. This is a game where both teams kind of battled. Both teams were hanging in there. They left everything out there on the ice. And realistically, after that first period, Edmonton had a strong second and the Flyers had a strong third. So it was very epic, crazy first period. And then both teams had their respected 20 minutes of they won that period. It's just the Flyers ended up making more plays late when they needed to. Yeah, Atkinson, I mean, he had both goals. That one goal at the end of the first period, just the fact that he created that turnover by getting up ice. He got into the face of the defenseman, which forced, him to have to panic a little bit when the puck was bouncing. It hits off his skate. He kicks it to his stick, and he just puts it on net. It was magnificent. That was huge. And watching Claude Giroux all fired up on the bench as well got me in my feels. Yeah, that's true. Rasmus Ristolainen got a nasty puck off the face. He had stick on puck, good gap control there. Hits his stick, goes up into his face. Missed about 7 minutes of the third period, but he started, once he came out for that power play, started that power play 2 up at the top. I know Sanheim doesn't really move the needle there, so they kind of looked in that direction of Rasmus Ristolainen, and he had okay plays out there. He also had some really bad ones, and I think that's basically what you're going to get out of Rasmus Ristolainen. There are a lot of mistakes that he makes, and it's just not going to go away. That's part of the experience. McDavid is literally LeBron James of the NHL. Dude is always crying. Yeah, I mean, that's just called being an athlete. That's like saying if you watched Michael Jordan, did you think Michael Jordan ever went up to the referees and got into their faces? What you're saying is McDavid is literally the best player in the league. Yeah, that's what happens when you are the best player in the Sidney Crosby. What was he known for early on in his career? He's a crybaby. All he does is bitch and complain. Well, why? Because he's the best player in the league. LeBron, all he does is bitch and complain. Why? Because he's the best player in the league. I mean, all these players bitch. All these players complain. When you're the best player in the league, people talk about it in a different way. Nothing is really wrong with what McDavid does from the big picture standpoint. It's tough to be a G hater. Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, he's been playing great. He played great last season too. I don't want anybody to forget that, even though it was a bad season for the team. And that's the problem. People think if the Flyers don't have success, that means Claude Giroux just sucked. But quite frankly, that doesn't mean anything at all. There's really no correlation between that whatsoever. G has willed that team last year to some wins and whatnot. And right now, he's the heartbeat. That line of Joel Farabee, Atkinson, yeah, it's the heartbeat as well. But G is just playing magnificent. So is Hurts benched from Victor? All right, just to switch it into the Nick Sirianni loves plants concept. No, and he should not be benched either. I don't see why he should be benched at this point. We don't need to see what some of these other quarterbacks on the roster are all about right now. It's still about, yeah, but this is what doesn't make sense. What? Will Jalen Hurts cry when he gets benched? Are we doing this again? See, I forgot until we're 16 minutes in, right? Last Coffee with Brodes was one of the worst chats we've ever had. So let me get this straight, right? Let's look at this objectively. Carson Wentz, we were told, sucked and was the worst quarterback ever last season, right? And he was very bad last year, to the point where Jalen Hurts came in and everyone said, see, Jalen Hurts, clearly the better quarterback. You're wrong, but clearly the better quarterback. And now Jalen Hurts is struggling. And what? We're hearing that Gardner Minshew is clearly the better quarterback, or Gardner Minshew might be the better quarterback. Well, think about what you're saying about Justin Hurt or Jalen Hurts, the same guy you were saying things about being better than Carson Wentz. You're now saying he sucks. What do you think's going to happen when Gardner Minshew gets the sample size that Jalen Hurts is getting right now? He sucks too. At the end of the day, I mean, this Gardner Minshew stuff is just absolutely ridiculous, and it's getting overblown, and I don't understand it. I just don't. I don't want to, but this is where the Philadelphia Eagles fans are going with this. I am not sitting here saying that this is what I want to do. But Nick Sirianni, how crazy the chat was yesterday, and decided to one-up it by showing his competitive spirit. So, yeah, I think it's what it does is, because, there are some that are saying, who cares that he referenced a plant? And it's like, you're right. At the end of the day, it's not the fact of... It's the fact that we're talking about professional athletes, and here's roots, and when you water the roots, you grow. I mean, if you want to use analogies and metaphors or whatever the hell it is, then yes, it's okay. But at the end of the day, you're talking about professionals that make millions and millions and millions of dollars to compete at a very high level, and you don't have to be utilizing this high school method. One of our biggest knocks heading into this season was this guy seems like a high school coach. This guy seems like a assistant coach, not a head coach. What we heard him say yesterday was full out high schoolish. So that is why we have the reaction on what we do. At the end of the day, is it the biggest deal in the world? No, it's not. And the Eagles fan base is taking it for a ride. But what it really describes is the inability to connect with pros, the inability to connect with real, legitimate, professional athletes. There are some coaches that literally don't say anything. You get paid $12 million looking around the roster, that is, right? You get paid $6 million. You get paid $18 million. You get paid $10 million. I don't have to tell you that we need to be better. I don't have to tell you that there's a journey involved and you got to get watered to grow. You know. Philly fan base is so toxic. Yes and no. I think that there are some morons out there, but that's a lot of fan bases. And for some reason, Philadelphia, like nobody ever gets over that with Philly, where there are idiots and douchebags and fucking dopes in every single fan base. It's just we're not involved in those fan bases. Therefore, we're not as emotionally tied, and we don't see it as much because we're not witnessing what the Celtics Twitter is embarrassing. Celtics Twitter is worse than Sixers Twitter. I mean, it's a lot of just being on the East Coast and being more passionate than, let's say, the Arizona Diamondbacks fans out there. But I do think it gets a bad rap because of a portion of the community where there's a large portion that isn't nearly as strong and that is supportive and is smart and is objective and does have a lot of knowledge involved. And then, there's just a percentage that takes it to the extreme of nonsense. And Twitter's a hard way to really define anything because it's a lot of just people hiding behind keyboards and whatnot. It could be 10-year-olds. Like half the time I'm going back and forth with people. Then I go look and it's Brodes. It's 1 a.m. and you're going back and forth with a 12-year-old who lives in Conshohocken, who has no idea about anything sports related, but I just start getting all fired up because they say something stupid, So, there's a lot to factor in with it for sure. We have the reputation. I don't think any of us care. No, we do care. I care. I think that it gets taken to an extreme, when one thing bad happens, it gets taken to this next level. We maybe jump on people too quick. Had to have my friends ready to drop Carter Hart. Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I agree with you there. There's no denying that it's instant results or die. But with that said, sometimes you could tell with Jalen Hurts. There is, and the other problem is Jalen Hurts is in such a unique situation because of the draft capital that you have next year. If you don't have that draft capital, it doesn't intensify the conversation of do you go get a quarterback or not, because you have the ability to land that, and you can't do that every year. You see the difference on what you had to maneuver through the draft to go grab Carson Wentz compared to the position that you're in now with the Miami Dolphins losing and the Carson Wentz snap count. So it really does really put the spotlight on Jalen Hurts a little differently compared to a Carter Hart. And yeah, if you're moving on from Carter Hart just because of last season, then you're foolish. If that's your mindset as a fan, without analyzing the fact that you had Shane Gostisbehere playing top 4 minutes and Justin Braun playing top 4 minutes. Hard to say after last night's beauty by him over his +4 night. But you had guys in Phil Myers and Travis Sanheim making mistakes consistently. There was a correlation between all that. But you're right. I mean, people want results right off the bat, and that's unfair in this city. I'll absolutely 1,000% give you that. We can only hope that Joel Embiid's health will hold up. It's very troubling. Yeah, this new report on the whole meniscus thing with Ramona Shelburne, there's an element here of uh-oh. And I don't even know. See, it's being discussed. Should he sit 1 game? Should he sit 2 games? I don't even know if 1 or 2 games is going to be enough. And I said this from the jump. We know what he's trying to establish. He wants the fans to know that he's going to be a leader. We know, Joel. I really don't think he needs to do any more convincing. We understand your buy-in factor, and we know your connection to the city. We know you love us, and you are a part of us. Let's get right. Let's make sure that you can get as healthy as possible. I don't know if 1 or 2 games is going to be enough of a spot to really get back on track, though, fully. It's probably going to be a little bit more than that. Flyers D was brutal last year. I don't even know brutal, Joe, was the right word to explain the mess. There's a lot happening right now with this team where even last year entering the zone, let's talk about offensively, because you're right. Defensively, it was one of the worst things we've ever seen. Tragic. But offensively, they would just come into the zone and throw shots on net when they did. From the outside of the dots, there weren't really grade A chances. Now, you got Couturier driving the net, which opens up the third man high. Travis Konechny's wide open in the slot. Or a JVR is on the backside, and he's able to put a puck on net. It's just the ability to generate chances. And it all starts with the D zone. You play a structured D zone. You get out in transition, or the neutral zone game. Very strong. Quick passes up, and then you have an odd man rush, 3-on-2. There's so much generating in every single spot of the ice. And it's a correlation on why you're seeing the success that you're seeing. Giroux revenge tour, am I right? He had a good season last year, too, even though the team stunk. I thought that he gave you everything he possibly could last year at the same time. Which I know could sound crazy, but let's see here. Everyone is crucifying this coach and team. I'm curious to know what team we lost to that we should not have. Yeah, but Don, the difference is you can lose football games. You're right in terms of wins and losses, but didn't we establish this season the Eagles' year was not about wins or losses at all? It was irrelevant what their win total was. It was, can we build for next year? What can you take out of Nick Sirianni right now that makes you feel good? What do you see out of Jalen Hurts right now that makes you feel good? Wins and losses. I don't care that they lose to the teams that they should and beat some teams that they should beat. That's not what we're trying to figure out. It's, can we set ourselves up with Nick Sirianni, and we'll find out about Jalen Hurts or not at the end of this season to say, okay, we know what we have. Nick Sirianni's offense is very, very innovative. It's new. Plays build off of each other. Right now, you're sitting in, this is an absolute disaster, and no coach has a grasp on the identity of what this team is. So that's what this team was about. It's not about pumping the bricks because their win-loss is what it should be after facing the Buccaneers, after facing the San Francisco 49ers, and facing some of these teams that they were inevitably going to lose to because their roster was bad or worse than the opponent. Like, this team has no life. This team shows zero signs of NFL football. They look like a high school football team. So that's where it's not even close to the same level of wins and losses. Cam Atkinson. Dude, Cam Atkinson's unreal. Unreal. Yeah, I mean, he's a great player, man. He's a very smart player. I think he needed a little bit of a change. And look, Columbus, um, it's a nice, hardworking, gritty team over the last handful of years with John Tortorella. But you come to Philadelphia, I think he likes that East Coast vibe and the togetherness of Keith Yandel and the togetherness of Kevin Hayes and the culture that's being built in the locker room. I think really generated a fire under his ass, and now he's just buzzing completely out there, and he's just playing with a lot of confidence. That line is a true identity maker right now for this team. Derek Brassard, Joel Farabee, and Cam Atkinson, they are just on the same page, clicking. They always know where one another are, and they're generating a lot of scoring chances right now. And when you're doing that, not that I know from experience, trust me, I was never on a top line that was generating that much buzz. I'm Justin Braun, lucky to have a +4 night, and the teammates are like, wow, Justin Braun did what? Justin Braun did what? That's the reaction that came my way whenever I had a doozy. But he's just playing with some swag right now. I'm confused. Didn't the Sixers say Embiid was ready to go and the knee was better? Well, he ended up going knee to knee game one, and that's what ended up happening. So it's not as if he just entered the season, then poof, here goes his knee. There was a huge collision that happened during the first set of action. And then, well, this is what goes down when you're 7-2, and that happens to you. Brodes, what do you think on Williams' question? Oh, did somebody ask about Hayes? Oh, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. That line is playing so well right now, I wouldn't break it up. Now, I will say that third line last night was creating a lot of chances. Oscar Lindblom, Scott Lawton, and JVR. Scott Lawton had 7 shots on net. JVR on the power play, first rush down the ice. He was wide open on the backside and had a grade A scoring chance. Oscar Lindblom was doing all the little things last night, blocking some biscuits. He was getting in the way, limping off the ice after taking one to the skate. So what I would say to you is find a way to get Kevin Hayes to start on that third line, where it would be something along the lines of, I don't know, maybe you move Scott Lawton to wing, and then Oscar Lindblom is moved. So maybe it's something along the lines of Scott Lawton, Kevin Hayes, JVR, maybe something like that. And then your fourth line gets a little bit stronger with an Oscar Lindblom. Is that a bad role for Oscar Lindblom? Maybe. I know we tried JVR last year on the fourth line. I couldn't stand it. So you got to get creative with it. And then eventually, if this second line ever cools down, this fab line in Farabee, Atkinson, and Brassard, if that ever cools down, then you slot him back in the top 6, because ultimately, you want Kevin Hayes in your top 6 compared to your top 9. Now, if you have 3 lines that you can roll like that, and your fourth line too, that's what you saw last night. You saw a lot of Nate Thompson. You saw a lot of the fourth line logging minutes because the back-to-back tomorrow, and you have to try and really maneuver all those minutes through your 12 forwards, because it takes a lot of energy to compete at this level and to do it on back-to-back nights. It's extremely difficult, especially against, some teams that can bring it. It's not as if there's somewhat of a Coyotes or a team that's just a complete mess. It's too early to know what team's a complete mess anyway, but you get my point. I would say Hayes starts at third, and then from there, you try and find a way to get him back into that second line. Do I think Howie will botch our first draft picks? I think at some point it gets easier to make those picks. For example, when they picked last year, there was some concern, but I thought at the end of the day, when you draft that high, right, you're drafting that high for Devontae Smith, it's laying right there on your lap. You just take them. I think next year, depending on if they're going for the quarterback, see, there's so much in play here. But let's say they just pick players to help out their team, and they don't go package up and move up and grab a quarterback. I think it could possibly be a scenario where that Miami pick, the team just falls on your lap, or the player just falls on your lap. With your own Eagles pick, the player falls on your lap. Now things will get shaky with the Indianapolis pick that could be in that later half of the first draft, which is where it's more into O territory and could fall into a little bit of a mess. So I think the top picks, if they aren't going QB, could possibly be you can't mess this up, or the percentage of messing it up is so tiny that even Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles won't do it. That's my thoughts on it, Terrence. I don't even think that Oscar Lindblom, Lawton, JVR line is the third line. They could easily be the second. Nah. Well, I mean, they are the third, though. They are the third. And that's fair to say. That just means you have a lot of depth. I think it's fair to say they're the third line. I mean, you have Coots, CG, and TK. That's number one. And the way that the Fab line is playing, that's number two. And I don't think that the Oscar Lindblom, Lawton, JVR line is close to where they are in production right now. They've come off to a little bit of a slower start throughout the handful of games so far. So that's no knock. I think that, first off, you need that in the NHL. You need depth scoring. You need the ability to roll four lines. A handful of years ago, when they were battling with the Islanders and they came back down from that deficit and they made a nice run for 7 games in that series, one of the strong points of that team and something that really meant a lot to who they were and the run they went on was the fact that they were capable of rolling lines and having a lot of depth scoring. It was no one just scoring 40 goals like a Ovechkin, and then there were other guys to fall behind. It wasn't like Boston where they had one perfection line and then they're struggling to find some sort of a level of scoring from the other players. It was they had everybody, and I think that kind of summarizes where you are when you can even have Lindblom, Lawton, and JVR as a third line. But they are a third line. I don't think any Flyer traded over the summer is playing better with their new team. I did see that. Ghost is at one point was leading the Coyotes, but the Coyotes are bad. Leading the Coyotes in points does not mean you're necessarily good. It just means that your team is not very strong. And I think at this point, he's over. He's -4 with his 4.0 goals, 4 assists in 6 games. Phil Kessel, he's tied for first at this point as Clayton Keller and Phil Kessel ended up climbing the leaderboards, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Nolan Patrick the other night got his first goal. It was a tip in. He did not look very thrilled in that moment. He looked a little frustrated there, which is just interesting knowing that what he's been through. I think Nolan Patrick is just blah. He's a bottom 6 forward is what it is. Bottom 6 forward, which is fine. There's a role for bottom 6 people for sure. I'm not acting as if you have a bottom 6 role in the NHL, you're an absolute bum. There's guys who make a living in that area. Nate Thompson is a perfect example of a guy who just knows his role. He knows what he needs to do. And then you can live that way. You can live that way and make a lot of money buying into that type of role. But when you're drafted number 2 overall, you anticipate to grow and be a little bit more of a threat on both sides for sure. Nolan Patrick scored still without his stick on the ice. Yeah, I'm very underwhelmed with whatever he is. I don't even know what he is. It's hard to define what he is. But yeah, that's where I'm at with him. I'm also in a great spot with WinView. Are you tired of getting fleeced by the house? Are you tired of spending time researching players and teams only to end up short? Welcome to WinView. WinView is the only app where skill elevates you over the competition and into the money. You can play against your family, your friends, fans, and rivals during live sporting events. Put your sports knowledge to the test with contests before and during games. It makes your experience watching games a different watch, but a great watch. Forget about spreads, salary caps, and over-unders. All you need to do is answer questions about the game that you love. There's the MLB Progressive Jackpot for all you baseball fans out there. The series is now tied at 1-1. The jackpot started at $5,000, and after every MLB postseason game, it continued to grow. Do not miss out for your opportunity to land a heavy, heavy payday. You can deposit your bonus. They will double your deposit bonus up to $100. For all first-time users out there, that means if your deposit is $50, you'll get $100 in bonuses. If you deposit and spend $100, you'll get $200 in bonuses. Do not miss out. Their information is down below in the description. There's NHL games, MLB games, the NFL games, NBA back, and everything. Everything is back in action. It's just fun to kind of kick it, scroll through the app, answer some questions about the game, and then you get a chance to win some prize money. It's a no-brainer. No-brainer. Andre says, how much pressure is on Embiid to show Sixers Nation that he's still in MVP form? I think that's the problem, Andre. I think he's so worried about that, and his mind is so dialed in on that, that's actually forcing him to be in this uncomfortable situation that he's in now. Don't we know? Don't we know how good he is when healthy? He doesn't have to prove it. And right now, he's doing the opposite because he's not healthy. So he's not even playing at that MVP form because there is damage in the knee. So we get what he's trying to do. But I think we also understand, relax, just take a deep breath because you're not even giving us that MVP for him because you're injured. You could tell with his jab step. You could tell with his mid-range game. His face-up game is lost. His mid-range jumper, it's lost. So right now, I mean, it comes down to, there shouldn't be pressure, Joel. I think everybody in the world understands where you stand as a center in this league and how strong you are in your skill set. But when you're banged up, you just don't get to see it. You know? What? No. Bro, do you think the Eagles traded Flacco for Watson and Hurts as a back? No. They traded him because they know he's on a one-year contract. He's never going to play here. And they're rebuilding and retooling, and they're trying to get as many draft picks for next season. That's what it was. Yeah, I think that there's so much dissect. There's too much going on. I mean, Joe Flacco being on your roster was never going to be the difference in you landing Deshaun Watson or not. First off, Deshaun Watson has a no-trade movement, and he doesn't want to come to Philadelphia. So right now, it really is an irrelevant story as a whole. He's just not linked to this team because he doesn't want to be here. He does not want to get traded to this scenario. So, no, it really comes down to let's get some draft picks. You got the conditional 6 that can turn into a 5th-round draft pick by the end of it, depending on his playing time. And you're trying to gain some assets where this guy's not the future. You know he's not the future. So why not get something for him when you have 2 wins this deep into the season? It really is nothing other than that. It is that simple of a scenario that we are in today. I honestly think that this is interesting. I honestly think that Ben Simmons could beat Tyrese Maxey in a 3-point shootout, 3-point shooting competition, if it wasn't for his mental block. But it's good to have a PG that pulls the trigger. See, the thing is, though, when you're a shooter that's bad at, like Tyrese Maxey, for example, is not a great 3-point shooter. But one of the reasons why is because of at some point you lose confidence because you're not doing it at an efficient enough pace. So the point I'm bringing that up is sometimes that becomes mental where hey, I don't feel good about this. I'm not going to let it fly. You can't, in this hypothetical, just remove Ben Simmons' mental block and then not say that Tyrese Maxey gets to play this current version of Tyrese Maxey. You're not confident. The reason why there's a mental block for Ben Simmons is because he's not confident in shooting the ball. So one guy in this hypothetical gets the confidence removed or the lack of confidence removed from the equation, and Tyrese Maxey doesn't get the confidence issues removed from his part of the conversation. I think that that's extremely flawed of a hypothetical, in my opinion. I think that that's unfair. Let's see if there's anything for any news dropping, anything happening. Let's see, Baldy. There's something going on right now with Baldy claiming he thinks Detroit gets the win this week. He doesn't see the Eagles winning this game, which we have a Football Friday podcast tomorrow that we'll be breaking down the action, of course. And basically, we'll go through it. We'll go through it. Paul Domowitz tweeted this out 55 minutes ago. The Eagles gave up 23 first down to the Raiders. 14 of them came on second down, another 5 on first. The Raiders averaged 9 yards per play on second down. In the last 2 weeks, Derek Carr and Tom Brady were combined 32 for 33 versus the Eagles on second down. In what universe is that real life? That is just absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. Anything else happening here? 2 AFC teams reportedly eyeing Andre Dillard. I don't even know if I want to trade Andre Dillard. I think he could play. I mean, I'm not telling you he's an all-pro type of left tackle, but there's a lot of injuries to this offensive line all the time, consistently. Jordan Mailata, I mean, this thing continues to go on where I don't know. It depends. I mean, if there was a report that it could be a good second-day pick, and I guess if it's a good second-day pick we're talking second round or something along those lines, it would be warranted compared to what the conversation was in the offseason, where it was you're just getting rid of him for a fifth, sixth rounder or so, where you're basically getting nothing back. That's a different hypothetical. If it's a second day guy, I guess maybe you can find a serviceable backup left tackle and still be able to utilize that second day pick on another player that can have more of an impact on an every down style. So I guess then it would open up the door for more. But ultimately, I'm just saying, if it wasn't for that compensation, it was something weaker like we talked about during the offseason, maybe I would feel differently about it. But I think Andre Dillard can play. I don't think that he's a mess. I think he can play. It's just we are spoiled by all pro level play every year. I don't think Andre Dillard is that bad, which makes the whole he's a bust first round draft pick. I mean, how many seventh round all pro or seventh round franchise left tackles do you take to overstep your first round left tackle? Just doesn't happen always. Justin Braun's status as a point per game through 5 games might be the most bizarre aspect of the Flyers season thus far. Justin Braun, offensive dynamo. Just sounds right. No, that's from Charlie O'Connor. That's funny. I didn't realize he was a point per game. I know he had a couple assists last night. He finished with 2, but yeah, that is pretty damn funny. Pretty damn funny. I agree. What makes us think the Eagles will beat the Lions? Well, because, they are bad too. To act as if the Eagles are the only bad team hitting the field on Sunday is not fair. So, there are reasons to think that they can win this game. At some point when 2 bad teams play, one of those teams has to win. That is understood, right? Unless we have the Cincinnati Bengals Eagles debacle from last year where it goes to overtime and or the punt was in play. Oh my Lord. Do you remember that debacle? Do you remember that just horrendous concept? It's like we cursed from winning the Super Bowl. This team has been injury prone ever since. Well, I don't think we're cursed. I think it's just that hard to win a championship where it's extremely difficult to do it. And if you say from that moment, we're cursed, we'll never win one again. No, it's just that hard to win a title. So when you do, embrace it and make sure that you take that moment and cherish it forever, because we're not Boston. Most cities are not Boston. Hell, Boston was not Boston before they went on this most recent Boston run. That is historic and it goes down in history, but it's extremely hard to win. Well, Brodes, at least we know the Flyers can score. Yeah, they can. They can put the biscuit in the net. There's no doubt about it. I did not see anything from Ryan Ellis. My guess is he won't play, but this is just pure gut feel. Nothing other than pure gut feel. Let's see if there's any latest. No, I don't see anything. I don't see any sort of any sort of comments on where he's at from a physical standpoint. I think the Lions have better coaching and play with more heart. Sure, I mean, sure. I think that's easy to say that, hey, they battle at times, but you could say that the Eagles battled even though they looked really ugly against the San Francisco 49ers. Their defense held you in there. 17 point. The offense struggled. Excuse me. I got a little bit of the hiccups here. The offense struggled a little bit, but they, quote, battled. But, yeah, I mean, you're right. I do think that the Lions play a little bit harder. They have a little bit more confidence in them as a whole, but it's also a week-to-week league. And what happened the previous week sometimes does not correlate to what happens the next week. So I'm not telling you that I feel great about this matchup whatsoever, but when you say that I don't know why you would feel good about this one is, well, I mean, we're not going up against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers here. There is a recipe for success against a winless team 7 weeks through the season. You and everybody else in this city wants Howie Roseman gone. I still believe the bigger issue is Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, and he's the reason why Howie Roseman acts the way that he acts, because he allows Jeffrey Lurie to have the impact that he wants to have on the roster. See, we know how big they are in analytics. We know how crazy and absurd they are with, the number game. And then we're also hearing through their draft pick. Like, all I'm saying is, and this is just pure speculation and pure smell, it's the smell test, but the Jalen Ragers and these picks that they take, the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and they try and sell you a portion of their game. Davion Taylor, right? Where it's like, what are they doing? And they try and sell you this brand of the player. I think that there's a smell of what analytics Jeffrey Lurie wants to utilize on players throughout the drafting process. And then that's what Howie Roseman ends up picking because Jeffrey Lurie has all the power and has all the say. And before you throw out there, well, then hire a GM that will push back on the owner. Let's use our brain here. There's a reason why that's not the case. Jeffrey Lurie just won't hire that. That's not what he's looking for. So that's kind of where I'm at with the debacle of why we see these draft picks that we see on a consistent basis out of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm missing a part of my read that I need. And I got it right in front of my face. Yeah, no transition on this one. I'm just going to let you know about my friends at BetQL. Do you want to get an advantage over your sportsbook? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their best bet computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports. And it gives you the reasoning on why you should place this bet. Their model covers everything: spreads, over-unders, and player props. There's sharp data so you can see who the professionals are backing. Line movement so you can jump on betting opportunities in real time. Team summaries highlighting previous success against the spread and the team over-under. Team lineup breaking news and injury status updates. Head to the App Store or Google Play Store right now to download BetQL. Enter the discount code Brodes at payment checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. You can find their information down below in the description. Brian says, great night for Hart in front of his family last night. Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. It's funny. Riot Ninja says the same thing right before you. Well, actually, a little different, but mentions Carter Hart. Carter Hart sure has a lot of goals. Oh, whoa. Sorry. I saw Carter Hart's name, and I thought that we were in the Carter Hart praise mode. In what world did you watch yesterday and thought to yourself, this is the reaction to have? I'm a little baffled by that. I'm sorry, Brian, to put you in the same category here as Riot Ninja. I saw Carter Hart. I saw Carter Hart sure has, and I thought naturally off of what we witnessed last night that, it would go in a direction of was playing sharp or whatnot. Why? You watched last night and thought to yourself, I have some concerns for Carter Hart? I mean, Carter Hart was sound. Carter Hart was poised. Carter Hart robbed Connor McDavid on multiple occasions. The Oilers had a late power play when the Flyers had a 1-goal lead. And here's Carter Hart making stellar saves and holding the puck up and stopping the puck and getting whistles. Second and third period, he was great. I'm a little baffled by this, Riot. We got to be better than that. There's no reason to bring. I mean, last night he was great. It was great. He showed you why you felt the way that you did about Carter Hart, the goalie. Yeah, right. Amadeus, that's a great point. What's the expectations? What's the fair expectations? Look, that tying goal to make it 3-3, there was a problem on everybody. Ristolainen got beat by McDavid, which is going to happen, by the way. As hard as I am on Ristolainen, I understand that there's going to be times where you get beat along the half wall. So, especially by McDavid, that is. So, McDavid wins a battle. Cam Atkinson loses a battle. Travis Sanheim loses a battle. Everybody lost a battle in front of him. And then the puck squeaked through to tie the game up 3-3. That was right to start the second period. You want that to be a little bit sharper, but sometimes that happens. Ultimately, Carter Hart was great. Does he not have a lot of goals against? You thought he was. What do you mean he was okay? When you say okay, are you saying like, I thought he was okay last night? Or are you saying like, no, he was okay last night? I don't know. I think okay, even if I tried to change the tone on it, it still just doesn't do it. You're doing him a disservice and not giving him the proper assessment on the great style that he played last night. No, I don't think it's a concern at all. I watched this hockey team to this point and I go, they're good. They're a good team. And they're a good team with their defense. They're a good team with their offense. The Flyers are 3-1-1, so they have grabbed 4 points out of their 5. Martin Jones did play one of those games, if you remember. I'm going to say, I don't think his goals against average is anything brutal or disturbing. We have two different ones here. We got Amadeus says 273. Steven says, never mind. They both say 273. Dude, what the hell is going on with my eyeballs here? I think that that's just a reach. And unfortunately, that's what we do here at times is we reach. We grab, Claude Giroux's the worst captain in the world because the team hasn't won anything. We're reaching. We're reaching as if one of those years we didn't have 8 goalies in one season, which is a historic pace, which is a historic statistic. We got to breathe, man. Carter Hart was solid as hell. The only one I didn't like was the first one. Let me think of the first one. No, there was the power play goal? The power play goal that ended up getting tipped by Justin Braun? Was that the first goal? I don't think that was that's not on him. Let's see here. Oh, that was the backhander by Barry. Yeah, well, you know what? Nick Seeler was flopping around like a moron on the ice there on multiple occasions. It wasn't just the backhand by Barry in that play specifically where he just fell to the ground as if there was someone up top with the sniper rifle. It was a little bit before that as well where he's getting twisted and turned. And, he looked like he had no business being on the NHL ice at all. Yeah, but, dude, you're right. It was a really insane angle to score on. It was a great shot at the same time, though. Very well placed. But I think it's fair. I think it's fair from that angle to get scored on like that. You want to have that back. Think about every netminder is going to say they want one's back. Cam Atkinson's second goal. Don't you think they're going to want that back? Cam Atkinson's first goal, where there's 0.6 seconds left on the clock. Don't you think they're going to want that back? You can go through every single game, unless you're Carey Price or Marc-Andre Fleury in his prime or Patrick Waugh in his prime or Martin Brodeur in his prime. There's going to be a lot of these goalies throughout 40, 35 shots, 30 shots on net. We're going to say, I would like to have that one back. It goes both ways. Cam Atkinson's a dog, man. Cam Atkinson's a dog. Old Flyers uniforms are goated. Which ones you talking about, Pat? You talking about like the black ones that Keith Primo played with? You talking about the ugly ones where Peter Forsberg with that weird gray involved, that silver involved, the Peter Forsberg era? Which one are we going here with when you say the old Flyer? Are you going like Bobby Clark? Because the old style is kind of what they have now with the orange and the white ones. And they kind of just redid them in more of a 2021 vibe. I don't even remember which Jays they were last night. I'm going to have to go back and watch a clip because it's not. I know you hate Amadeo, you hate the blue that they use. They use that darker blue instead of that lighter shade of blue, right? They use the dark blue. Yeah, I don't like those unis. Yeah. I'm not a big fan. You know what the issue is? There's not enough white. In them. You got to have the white would make the orange pop more inside that Oilers logo. I do enjoy the Flyers black ones now. I don't mind their black ones now. I actually like it. The numbers are a little big on the side patches, but ultimately, I do like their black Jays. I think that they're smooth. What's up, Don? I came in here hoping to learn about plants. Well, if you did not know, if there are roots, and then the roots are in the ground, and then you water those roots, and from there, the plants grow, and somehow that is an NFL football team as well. So there's your answer on learning about plants. Yeah, it's really just about his approach on coaching professional athletes more than anything else, being treated like they're children, and how that message just does not sit inside a professional setting for a long period of time. And I think we're already kind of witnessing that as we speak. So that's funny, though. That's funny. No, I'm pretty sure at this rate, the Flyers actually may have more than one All-Star. Yeah, Cam Atkinson. It's 5 games in, right? They're 3-1-1. So over an 82-game window, guys will somewhat slow down, and then you might go through 8 games of 1 point, but then you go through 6 games of 7 points or, something along those lines. So there's ups and downs. There's flow involved in these seasons for sure. Just because G is starting the season off like this, lighting the lamp, doesn't mean he will for the next 10 games either. But he's just playing with a lot of confidence right now. And I like the way that his energy is really leading this team. G's such a good captain. The narrative that he's not is one of the most laughable things I've ever heard in my damn life. G is what you want in a captain, and he just does not get appreciated. I wonder if those those idiots and those dopes that just don't enjoy him are starting to change that thought process once you see what a goalie does to your franchise, what Chuck Fletcher has done and actually acquired talent surrounding him and changing Voracek up and just getting a new, fresh identity. Do you see the difference? If this team makes a run and then you look at 2 of the 3 years, you're 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago. Okay, you had a hiccup last year, but then you respond with another run that, you win a playoff series, you're getting some, I don't know. Yeah, that quote last night was asinine, absolutely asinine to say. It means you're uneducated about the sport of hockey. Don't make excuses for Claude Giroux. This is at Ray Toothhill. That's the individual who tweeted in. Don't make excuses for him. Great players get it done. I personally can't wait for him to be gone. How do you watch this hockey team and think, I can't wait for Claude Giroux to be gone? It seriously makes no sense whatsoever. What else doesn't make sense is my SeatGeek promo code just getting you $20 off for no reason. That's right. And if you're going to buy tickets to go to the Flyers, to go to the Sixers, to go to any game out there, utilize the promo code Brodes, $20 off for your tickets. You're basically getting the fees that suck, the fees that are an embarrassment. It just gets eliminated right from the jump. Giroux had a raffle. Hey, Raffle, another guy that learned his role, though, just understood 4th line, 3rd line, bottom 6 guy. But yeah, you're right. Yes and no. There were times where Raffle did move up in the lineup. But yeah, that is a definition of just not having the proper teammates and demanding one guy, as if this is the NBA, as if this is LeBron James and some of these other pieces. And yeah, you know what? He's not Crosby, okay? He's not Crosby or McDavid level, but that doesn't mean that he's not a super, super talented individual that is in the top echelon of this league and that you want on your franchise. You want Claude. If you could ask any franchise in the history of the NHL, would you want Claude Giroux's career on your team? The answer is no shit, you dope. That's the answer. No shit, you dope. It's not even a question. Are you seriously asking me that? It's funny. It's laughable. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for hanging out. I do notice, and this is not a bad thing, I actually enjoy it, but, the Coffee with Brodes energy, the Coffee with Brodes fans that hop in every morning with us, big Flyers fans, which is fun to talk about, especially, after a performance like last night. I thoroughly enjoy it. Knowing that it falls 4th on the list in terms of, fandom here, Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers is normally the level of tiers. It's fun hanging out and talking some hockey with everybody in the morning. So I want to, and that doesn't mean it's not fun talking about the other teams. I enjoy everything and we talk about everything, but we understand. Now we've been doing Coffee Broad for a bit of time. We see the energy in here with the Fly guys and it's fun. So I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me today. We got a double whammy tonight. We got the double dip. We got the Pistons, Sixers at 7. We got the Flyers, Canucks at 10. I'm pretty much out of commission all day. I got the big tattoo appointment. We got a 7-hour session waiting my way. Going to be a lot of fun attacking the leg sleeve. So I'm going to be insanely drained tonight doing the post-game show. I don't know how it's going to lay out yet. Just to be honest with you, it's a lot easier said now compared to putting that much damage on the body and then having to record after. But my goal right now is Sixers, Pistons post-game tonight because it's early, and then probably maybe a Flyers, Canucks post-game show in the morning, maybe along those lines, probably, maybe. That's what I'm thinking right now at the moment. So thank you guys so much. You're the best. I love you. Talk to you guys tomorrow.